I'm standing at the back end of the new high tunnel, and I want to show you around. Here is the back end with the window, and that can be put up or put down to let in ventilation. The cattle panel greenhouse, hoop house, is 21 feet long and 8 feet wide. You have a lot of growing space in here. It's not the finest, but it does the job. I need to add some soil and plant some tomatoes and peppers and call it good. We basically just put logs for the edges, the sides, 8-foot rough sawn lumber on the back and the front, and the raised beds are 2x4s stacked 3 high, and they are also rough sawn lumber. This is the following Monday. I forgot to do an intro. I ended up planting 21 tomato plants and a small row of corn. The day was horrible. It was super muggy and wet, but I powered through it. Well, here we go. All up the right side and in the back, and then down the left side. And then I planted a row of corn right here, just a fairly small one. I've never grown corn inside of a hoop house before, but I know people do it, so I thought I'd try. So how I've planted my potatoes, I spaded up the ground just on the south side of the new cattle panel greenhouse, and I just place the potatoes right on top of the ground, and then I'll add some soil or compost, preferably compost. In my case, it's soil and compost mixed, and then I put organic fertilizer in it. Here are the potatoes, and here is the compost and soil mixed together. I mix it up really well. It's a little dry, but that'll be all right because I'm going to water it in really good, and then I'm going to put straw or grass clippings, just something on top of that, and the potatoes will grow up through that. It makes it super easy, and you don't have to worry about digging your potatoes up. It's a variation of a Ruth Stout method. So I placed the compost and soil on top of the potatoes all the way down the line, and I watered them in really well. And now I'm going to put the grass clippings that have been decomposing for a few weeks. Good evening. Welcome to Wednesday. Shane and I are out in the new garden area, raking and getting ready to put up a fence so we can plant some squash and some other row crops. And that's about all. Say hello to the camera. So this is the new area that we're going to be fencing off. We have got it all raked out. Well, Shane's done 90% of it. And we're going to put a fence around it and plant some row crops and hopefully grow a lot of food for our pantry. Welcome back to the garden, friends. Today is Saturday morning, and I'm going to be doing some watering and pruning the tomatoes and drinking a cup of coffee, and I want to bring you along. Seeing eyes of mine, is what the tomato plants look like in this small little high tunnel. The ones off to the right are the ones I planted a month earlier than these ones on the left. And some of the ones on the right have double leaders. And today I'm going to cut the second leader off and trim the tomatoes. Do the same thing to the ones over here. And they do need to be trimmed quite a bit. So this tomato right here, you can see it has formed two main stalks that come up, and I'm gonna use the one on the right to be my main leader. So what I'm gonna do is, if I can get the camera right, I'm gonna go in here and just clip this off like that. And then I'm going to start wrapping this one around this string. See that string right there? And what we're going to do, very gingerly, just wrap the tomato around. And see there, it has a nice, it's nice and straight. I have another little one coming up here, and that is just a sucker, like the armpit of the tomato, the sucker, and I'm going to trim that off. Ideally, you want to trim those off when they're a lot smaller. They just break off on their own, but I'm going to trim that off. Now around here, over on this side, you can see a sucker that is right there in the armpit. And when they're small like that, you can pretty much just do that. I hope you somewhat have an idea on how to prune a tomato plant. I am going to just set you up on the tripod and do a little speed pruning and show you what it looks like afterward. I just came across something that I did wrong, and I want to clarify that. In vlog 1, I planted out these tomatoes in the high tunnel, all the small ones, and I'm going to show you what happened. So down here, I used the twine right here. And my idea behind that was to use something that was going to be able to compost back into the soil. And what had happened was it already rotted off at the bottom. So moving forward, I'm just going to tie these strings to the tomato plant, and we're just gonna go from there. Next year, I'll use nylon string or twine, and hopefully I can keep that year after year. I'll just keep them tucked up on the wire after I'm done using them, and hopefully I can use them the next year following. So here are the tomatoes after I pruned them back. Pretty airy in between. And I did trim back the zucchini squash. Shall we go on a little garden adventure? Congratulations, we made it to week 3 and the recap. I am so glad I was able to get the tomatoes planted in the big hoop house, which is where we're at now. I was trying to find a good spot outside, but the wind has picked up, so that messes with video and volume. So we're just going to hang out in here for a little while and talk about the tomatoes and the tomato pruning. And what else did we do? The potatoes, flattening the area for the new outdoor growing garden. So I planted all the tomatoes in here, and you knew in the video it took me all day. It was super muggy out and it was just horrible, but I was glad I was able to get that done. And then on top of that, I just worked real hard and got the potatoes done on the outside, and I was able to get some video of that. Ruth Stout method is how I plant my potatoes, and I absolutely love it. You need to look that up on the internet and learn how to do that even better. It's so clean and easy when you harvest your potatoes. They're not in dirt, they're just literally growing kind of on top of the soil with compost. It's an amazing method. And what else did we do? That's about it. Up here, Shane and I on Wednesday, we worked a lot on the outdoor area to get that ready to go. We were going to try to get the fence up, but then my father-in-law and Clayton came back again on Saturday, which was yesterday. I didn't do any filming on that. I will have some pictures and I'll put that on the side note or right here on the video. It looks really good. The dimensions are not exact, but we used a 100-foot roll of 2x4 wire plus the 16-foot part of the cattle panel garden, which is just a little bit below that. So we have like, plus the gate, which is 4 feet. So we have about 120 dimensions of growing area. And eventually we're going to put raised beds in there, but for now we're just going to try to get some stuff in the ground. I have cucumbers, some squash, and I just bought some more green beans, and I'll have enough time to get those up to harvest before our first frost or before the weather gets too bad. And so we're going to be able to grow some more crops in that area, and I'm pretty excited. We do have some deer in our area, and the deer pressure isn't really hard down in our little canyon. It is more up in the lower parts of our community. We did put some round hoops that you'll see in that picture, which was something that my father-in-law salvaged from a project that he was working on. They are part of a hoop structure that some people made to store some belongings underneath, and so he was able to get those for free. And so we kind of just hoop them around. I'm pretty sure that that will keep the deer out. It's kind of crazy, and it looks kind of funky, but you know, at this point we're just wanting to get, excuse me, fencing up to get some more crops in the ground. And I was hoping to get that 4th of July garden tour video out, but I was absolutely not able to do that. Last week's video took me about 14 hours trying to get it uploaded, and I was completely exhausted by the time 4th of July came about. So I have just skipped over that, and I put in a little bit of a video tour of what's going on without any description of the garden. I hope that'll work for now. I do plan on doing a better job at that in the future. And I am and have in works a video on what you can still plant and get a harvest out of plant in July and get a harvest out of that in the near future, in the fall and the winter. And so I just want to thank everybody for coming along with my adventure, and I will see you on the next video. Cheers.